College basketball opened up last night. Everybody in the Big 12 who played won. A couple of close games. UCF upsetting 13th ranked A&M. But most everybody blew out the opponent. And there was one Big 12 team that just flat got hammered. Baylor at Gonzaga. Evan Miyakawa joins us. EvanMia.com. Analytics and stats and data and all that. Evan, that was ugly. I know you're not here just to look at that, but geez, my God, your thoughts about what happened.
Yeah, my analytics going into this game definitely liked Gonzaga a lot more than most people did. I think most people viewed this as a toss-up. A lot of people were kind of edging towards Baylor. Going into the season, my metrics have rated Gonzaga really highly, and I think this should be a point of encouragement for Baylor fans. They have the best offense in the country, and that was my opinion and what my model showed before this game even happened. And then we saw this on full display last night, over 100 points for Gonzaga against Baylor. And so I thought Gonzaga would be not a comfortable favorite in this game, but definitely would win this game by, between 5 and 10 points. That's kind of what my model was spitting out. Certainly did not predict them to absolutely smack Baylor in this game. But all things considered, I think Gonzaga is one of the biggest threats to win the national title. I have them number 2 in the country right now behind Houston. So I definitely don't think Baylor should be super, super discouraged about this result because they probably played the best offense they're going to see all year. And they certainly played one of the best teams in the country. And, this is a team that has some younger pieces, some new pieces. It may just take a little bit of time for them to gel, but certainly not the way you want to start your season last night.
No, absolutely not, Evan. Do you think, though, long-term, Baylor, do the numbers show you that this will bear out? I mean, they have not played very much together at all. Whatever they played in the exhibitions and whatever's happened in practice. Like this is maybe 3 guys who have experience playing a long time together of a team that's really talented, but again, not played together.
Yeah, I think honestly what I would take away from this game is there was no one on the team who played well last night, and I would chalk that up more to coaching, having your team ready than individual talent issues on this team. I mean, VJ Edgecombe has been, stealing all the preseason hype in terms of potentially being the best freshman in the country, best freshman in the Big 12. Early on in this game, he had a couple turnovers. He just kind of looked out of it. He only finished 2 of 11 for the field. And that just kind of goes across the rest of the roster. You'd probably argue the best player last night was Rob Wright. And honestly, a lot of that just came down to determination, confidence, and energy as opposed to an actual skill thing. So when I looked at this team last night, as I was watching them getting beat by Gonzaga, my thought was like, okay, this team is probably going to be pretty good come February, March. It might just take a little bit of time for these pieces to gel, but this team certainly has one of the higher ceilings in the country. And one of the things that I noted with them in the preseason is that there really is a lot of potential ways that this season could go for Baylor. They could be an absolutely elite team. They could also disappoint just because of all the new pieces and the reliance on key freshmen like Edgecombe and Rob Wright. That gives them as high a ceiling as anybody, but also means there's a lot of room for error too.
Evan, I think the rest of the results in the Big 12, save for the one I'm about to mention, were all pretty much just as expected. But how about UCF beating Texas A&M to get a huge win for that program at home, a top 15 win? Your thoughts on that from both perspectives, both the Knights but also the Aggies?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they got to open the season at home against Texas A&M certainly gave them an edge in this game in terms of, having the home crowd behind them. But we certainly weren't expecting what we saw last night. And I honestly do think that this does kind of speak a little bit to Texas A&M in the sense that their star player is Wade Taylor. And Wade Taylor is one of the better players in the country, but he's also a player who is known for racking up a lot of shots and not necessarily making a lot of them. And if he's not having an on night, then that can be a problem and sort of hinder where this team can go. And, on the final possession of the game last night, Texas A&M had 3 pretty good 3-point looks to tie this game. None of them went down. So, I do think that really just tells you Texas A&M, on a night when they're clicking, they're going to be one of the best teams in the SEC, but they also have a ceiling to them when their best player in Wade Taylor isn't doing well. Where else are they going to turn? So for me, I think this is really encouraging from UCF that they were able to get this kind of game to, cause this kind of trouble for Texas A&M. And, I still think it's going to be an uphill battle for them this year in the Big 12. They're certainly not in that top tier or 2 of the conference, but who knows? Anything could happen, and if they keep this momentum going, they could be kind of in the at-large picture come the spring.
I saw that you during the Gonzaga Baylor game, it's a part of what you do, the kill shot. Gonzaga kill shot was and they seemed like they had like a plethora of kill shots. Explain to everybody your data or how you follow the kill shot, what it means.
Yeah, so the kill shot is any time that a team scores 10 or more unanswered points in a game. And this is a way of measuring how many times a team is able to flip the script and really put the momentum on their side. And whether that's going on a 10-0 run or giving them one up. And so a lot of times in games like this, when it's supposed to be tightly contested, a team that has more of these types of runs really does wrestle the game away. It was fairly tight early on. I think Gonzaga was up by 2 or 3. And then they went on a kill shot early, and it was a double-digit lead for the rest of the game. And that's really Baylor never really had a shot after that. Obviously, the score got more lopsided than that, but that's really what stole the momentum. And so for them, early in the first half, having that 10-0 run to kind of wrestle the lead away and comfortably have it the rest of the game, I really think set the tone for the whole 40 minutes.
So for those who have not seen your coverage with us, and we knew you when you were in diapers, and we kind of helped you along the way, but your stuff is taken off. National writers refer to it, and obviously there's a lot of indexes, etc. Tell everybody kind of how you got into this, and then also what you do.
Sure. Well, my humble beginnings were while I was getting my PhD at Baylor, living in Waco from 2017 to 2020-ish, and ended up finishing with my PhD at Baylor in 22. But basically, while I was in grad school there, I was working on getting my PhD in statistics and sort of, college basketball has always been my love. And so I was, messing around with different kinds of algorithms and statistics and decided to make a website out of it and just do it as a side project initially. And it's just organically grown over the last several years. So much so that, so a lot of coaches and media people are using it. And I was able to leave my full-time job doing consulting for NBA teams to do this site full-time for college basketball specifically. So it's been such a fun ride. I'm so thankful to the Lord for this opportunity. And as you said, Sikkim 365 was one of the first places that I ever did interviews like this. And so certainly you guys have played a huge part in sort of exposing other people to what I'm doing and helping me getting practice with this sort of thing.
Yeah. Evan, who do you, in the Big 12, Kansas played Howard.
Wait, he had to turn off the vacuum cleaner.
Oh, yeah. It's like in my house. The vacuum cleaner's always going because I live with a clean freak. So, but Kansas had the win over Howard last night. That was really a huge one. But they're also a little bit like Baylor. There's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that are like Baylor that they haven't played together a lot. Do you think we'll see maybe some of this as they play the tougher opponents early on before they gel?
I think there's a chance. Honestly, think that what Baylor is doing in terms of playing a team like Gonzaga, most teams are trying to do the opposite, where they're trying to have easy cakewalk games early on and not have to worry too much about getting beat in a game like this. But I think this actually sets the tone for your season. I know a lot of people, including myself, really do encourage teams to go out and play tough teams like this early in the non-conference schedule because losing to Gonzaga, who's going to be one of the best teams in the country, doesn't really hurt your resume that much, doesn't really hurt your reputation. All it does is prepare you for the difficult Big 12 games that are coming up. And I think the opposite thing, what you could do is you could play a bunch of cakewalk games, go 9-0, 10-0, and then just have a wake-up call once you get into conference play when games really matter. So I love when teams do this, and I love, a team like UCF. It paid huge dividends for them last night, beating a big team, a ranked team in Texas A&M on their home court. For Baylor, obviously a little bit of a different story there, but they've figured out really quickly the things they need to learn and grow. They've got Arkansas coming up, another tough test. I think this is good for them, and I think it's going to make them much more battle-tested when we get to January, February, when these games start really counting and you want to build momentum towards March.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams that won last night won by 24 to 50 or whatever it was. I looked at all the margins for error. What would you rather do? Get your brains beat in, maybe have a scar and lose confidence, but you're playing somebody like Gonzaga and then Arkansas with Calipari. This is not like opening up, with all due respect, because one year they lost to, SFA, one year lost to Houston, Baptist. to lose those games, but you're playing nobody.
Yes, exactly. And I think that, at the end of the day, I don't think coaches should be too concerned, again, about like how others perceive games like this, losses like this, because it's so much of a learning experience. And ultimately, if the goal of your season is to make a Final Four or win 6 games in the tournament, I think it shouldn't really matter too much how others perceive you. It should all be about what is going to strengthen your team. And so I do think this pays off in the long run.
All right, Evan, thank you. Do you have one of those ground control, like vacuum cleaners that's going around? Is that what that is?
Yes, unfortunately, my Roomba had it scheduled cleaning the one time this week in this room while this is going on, and it's too far away for me to tap it off my foot, and I'm using my phone as a camera, so we just had to roll with it. I'm sorry.
It was fantastic. Live TV. I knew it had to be something like that, but you got it. Thanks for your time, buddy. Evan Maya again, or Mia, MIYA.com. You can go on the website, and it's fantastic. It's like overload of a bunch of data and information, analytics on this and that, including matchups.